The United Nations is accusing China of serious human rights violations. This comes in a long-awaited report examining the crackdown on Uyghurs and other mostly Muslim ethnic groups. Human rights groups have accused Beijing of sweeping 1 million or more people from the minority groups into detention camps. This is where many have said they were tortured or sexually assaulted. The UN Human Rights Report adds the weight of the world body to conclusions from advocacy groups and media outlets. But it's not clear what impact it will have. China has denounced the assessment as a fabrication cooked up by Western nations. Well, joining us now to unpack the report and its impact is Dr. Charles Burton, an expert on China and a senior fellow at the Macdonald-Laurier Institute. Dr. Burton, welcome back to Forum Daily.
It's good to speak with you, Nima.
Now, unfortunately, human rights abuses in Xinjiang have already been brought to light by advocates and journalists, including Forum Daily. So what would you say is the significance of this UN report?
Well, in addition to advocates and so on, the Parliament of Canada passed a unanimous resolution that what's going on with the Uyghurs does constitute genocide under the UN Convention on Genocide, which Canada and China are both ratified. So I do think that having the UN sanction on the idea that what China is doing in Xinjiang violates a wide range of international law, not just the Convention on Genocide, but the Convention Against Discrimination Against Women, the International Convention on Civil and Political Rights, the International Convention on Economic, Social, and Cultural Rights, the Convention Against Torture, and so on, does make it clear to China and the international community that what China is doing is simply completely unacceptable to the world and requires further investigation. The UN has not been able to determine whether what China's doing amounts to genocide, but they really need more information and China to be more forthcoming and allowing more access for UN special rapporteurs and other UN agencies to get in there and verify what's going on, and for China to respond to the international community's concerns and release those Uyghurs from the concentration camps, which the UN has verified are true because they see the satellite evidence and have other sources of information that suggest that the Chinese government is not being honest about their program of trying to eliminate the Uyghur culture, civilization, and language and religion.
And was there any new information revealed in this report compared to what we already know from human rights advocacy groups and journalists?
Well, I think the main thing is the analysis and the statement by the UN that even if China is concerned about the potential of Uyghurs participating in terrorist activities in China and other parts of the world, that it's unacceptable for China to suppress the religious rights of the Uyghurs just because they feel if they get them to cease their belief in Islam, that they will then no longer be inclined to support terrorist causes. And I think it's pretty clear to the rest of the world outside China that there is not an issue of pervasive terrorist activity among the Uyghur minority. What they mostly want is their language, culture, and cultural rights, and the right to political representation. And China wants to suppress any notion that the Uyghurs are unhappy with being ruled by another ethnic group from a capital very far away. After all, Kashgar in Xinjiang is closer to Budapest than it is to Beijing.
All right, Dr. Burton, about a minute left here, but we know China has denounced this report as a fabrication. But what do we know so far about how the report is being perceived by the general public within China and their sentiments around all of this?
Well, China has described it, the foreign ministry spokesman says it's completely illegal and void, and proves once again that the OHCHR, the UN Human Rights Commission, has become a thug and accomplice of the US and the West. Well, I mean, this is complete and utter nonsense. That the integrity of the UN process and their rigorous legality is well established. But people in China, because of the suppression of the internet and the flow of information into China, will not be aware of this report or its contents.
All right, lots to keep our eyes on as this situation develops. Dr. Burton, always great having you on Forum Daily. Thank you again for your time today.
Thank you.
Stay with us. We'll be right back after the break with a look at heading back to school. Wyatt Sharp joins us again on Forum Daily with his take on what students may be dealing with as many school boards return to in-person classes. And of course, after that, we'll have major news stories and headlines from around the world. So stay with us. Forum Daily will be right back in a moment.